According to the legend, Hachishaku-sama is an extremely tall and slender woman who stands at approximately 8 feet tall. She is described as having long, flowing black hair and wearing a white dress. Her most distinctive feature is her unnaturally long limbs, which allow her to move with an uncanny grace and speed. The origins of Hachishaku-sama are unclear, with various versions of the legend circulating among different regions of Japan. Some believe that she was once a human who became possessed by an evil spirit, while others claim that she is a vengeful ghost seeking revenge for a past injustice. Regardless of her origins, it is widely believed that encountering Hachishaku-sama can have dire consequences. The legend states that Hachishaku-sama primarily targets young children, particularly those who are alone or wandering outside at dusk. She is said to approach her victims calmly and softly call out their name from a distance. As the child turns to look, they are met with the horrifying sight of the towering figure looming over them. Those who have encountered Hachishaku-sama to protect themselves from Hachishaku-sama, people have developed various rituals and precautions. One common belief is that speaking about her, or even uttering her name, can attract her attention. Therefore, it is advised to refer to her using alternative names or simply avoid discussing her altogether. Additionally, some believe that wearing red clothing or carrying a talisman can ward off her presence. The legend of Hachishaku-sama has gained significant attention in recent years, However, it is important to note that these accounts are largely anecdotal and lack concrete evidence. While Hachishaku-sama remains a popular urban legend in Japan, it is essential to recognize that she exists solely within the realm of folklore and storytelling. The legend serves as a cautionary tale warning children to be cautious and stay safe. Nonetheless, the fear and fascination surrounding Hachishaku-sama continue to captivate audiences both in Japan and around the world. A young boy once had the bad luck to cross its path while playing quietly in his grandparents' garden. As he heard a mysterious sound in the distance, he noticed the gigantic figure of Hachishaku-sama. The child rushed to his grandparents and told them what he had seen. His grandparents turned pale and shook their heads. Their grandson was the victim of an evil spirit. Frightened, they decided to consult a witch. The young boy had to stay locked in his room all night, holding a scroll against him, and never opened the door to Hachishaku-sama. A little later, the boy heard the sound of popping again, followed by his grandfather's voice asking him to unlock the door. He understood that it was in fact the demon and kept the door closed until 7 a.m. as he had been asked. But you don't get rid of Hachishaku-sama so easily. As the little boy was on the road accompanied by his grandparents and looked out the window, he saw the long silhouette of the demon once again. Teki is a ghost who appears in a number of urban legends. Teki are almost always women, though in a few versions of the urban legend, the ghost is male. She has no lower half. She runs about on arms, creating the distinctive teki sound from which she gets her name. Interactions, Teki chases its victims down dark roads, despite having no legs. A Teki can run incredibly fast, so fast in fact that it can even, when it catches them, something terrible happens. The legends are not always clear what. In some variations of the story, the Teki carries a sickle. It slices its victims in half at the waist and steals their leg. With most urban legends, there are so many versions of the Teki story that it is impossible to know what the original story was or where it began. Every locality has its own version with different details. In some stories, the Teki was the victim of a tragic accident. In others, it was suicide. In some stories, certain magic charms can protect you from its wrath. In others, nothing can protect you and you will certainly die. In some versions, the Teki's victims become Teki themselves. There are a number of threads in common between many of the variations, and the most common ones point towards a woman from Hokkaido named Kashima Riko. Legends in the years after World War II. an office worker in Minmuran, Hokakuado, was assaulted by American military personnel. That night, she leaped off a bridge onto the railroad tracks and was hit by an oncoming train. The impact was so forceful that her body was torn in half at the waist. The severe cold of a Hokkaido night caused her blood vessels to contract and prevented her from bleeding out quickly. Instead, she squirmed and wriggled about for help for several minutes. She crawled all the way to a train station and was seen by an attendant. Instead of trying to help her, the station attendant just covered her with a plastic tarp. She died a slow, agonizing death. According to legend, 3 days after hearing this story, you will see the ghost of a woman with no lower half. The ghost is that of the woman hit by the train. The ghost will try to catch you, and escape is impossible. Even in a car, the ghost can crawl at speeds of up to 150 km/h. Some say that the ghost is searching for her legs, which were lost when she was cut in half. Others say that she is angry at humanity for not helping her when she was dying, and that she is simply out to slaughter as many people as she can. Then, when she catches you, she will tear you in half and steal the lower half of your body. Shortly after hearing the legend, she will ask you a riddle, either in a dream or in a mysterious phone call. The only way to escape death is to answer her questions exactly the right way. She will ask you, "Do you need your legs?" You must reply, "I need them right now." She will ask you, "Who told you my story?" You must reply, "Kashima Raiko." If you answer her riddles without mistake, she may just let you live. Located in the countryside of Kyushu, Fukuoka Prefecture, lies the lost Inunaki village, a place that exists apart from civilization as we know it. In fact, when you come to the entrance to the village, you will be greeted by signs warning that the Constitution and laws of Japan do not apply here today. Inunaki Village and the old Inunaki Tunnel are considered to be one of the most haunted locations in all of Japan. At the end of the Edo period, the Inunaki village was under the rule of the Kuroda clan, located at the bottom of a valley in the mountains. The main source of income for the residents was wood, felled in the forests. Even getting into and out of the village was extremely difficult, and in 1884, construction began on a tunnel through the mountain. Technology at the time was lacking, and building the tunnel was a near impossible task, especially with the cost associated. Work was halted for a while until in 1927, when construction began once again after various village chiefs appealed to authorities to resume progress. Today the tunnel is haunted by the screams of those killed during its construction, as it had collapsed, killing hundreds of workers. Some say you can even hear the howling of a dog, which incidentally is how the village got its name. The word Inunaki means dog, or dog's cry. The howling dog is the spirit of a dog whose owner killed him in a fit of rage during a hunting trip. The dog continued yelping until his owner snapped. Thinking he was scaring away the game, he shot the dog, and shortly thereafter was confronted by a large snake. That explains the haunted tunnel. But what about the people living in the village itself? Legend has it that Inunaki village was inhabited by the Inunaki clan, a clan created by violent fugitives. This clan not only practiced incest, but also cannibalism. They kept themselves secluded and therefore declared themselves free from Japanese law, which explains the sign outside the village. To anyone who was brave enough to enter, they would be hunted down and killed. Madness was rampant. Another legend claims it was a leper colony, or perhaps inhabited by people with another highly infectious disease. The Inunaki tunnel was sealed shut, keeping them from leaving and infecting anyone outside. Eventually everyone died and the villages remained abandoned. As if the haunting of Inunaki village wasn't enough, the area seems to possess some otherworldly ability to block all types of electronics. No cell phones, no radios, no cars work in the village. If you got in, good luck taking pictures. If you got stuck, good luck calling someone. In Inaki village you are on your own, and it is said that anyone who enters never comes out. On December 7th, 1988, Yumayama Kuichi was on his way home from work. As he waited at a stoplight near the Inaki tunnel, a group of youths, aged 16 to 19, approached him and told him to get out of the car. They claimed they needed the car so they could go pick up some girls and told him he'd best get out if he knew what was good for him. Yumayama refused, and that was when they attacked. Yumayama was dragged from the car and assaulted. He was only able to escape when the youths let their guard down, and he ran, trying to make his way home, but the cars on the road refused to stop and let him cross. Unfortunately, the youths were able to catch up to him. They tried to throw him over the edge of Kandara Port, but Yumayama clung to the fence and was able to withstand their assault once one peaked. Then one of the boys suggested they stop, fearing they might actually kill the man. But leader didn't want their crime to be found out and reminded the boys that if it was discovered, they were all guilty and would all go down together. He pushed the boys to actually kill Yumayama, but he wasn't that easy to kill. They put him into the trunk of his own car and beat him, this time with tools they found inside, like the tire iron. They considered dumping his body into a nearby dam, but worried he would float and thus be discovered. They decided they had to burn his body so he couldn't be identified. They took him to the Inonaki tunnel, where they poured gasoline over his head and lit him on fire. Yumayama was not yet dead. His screams echoed inside the abandoned tunnel, causing the boys to recoil in fear. After all, the tunnel was haunted. Yumayama seized the moment and took off, running into the forest. The youths chased after him, calling for him to come out, pleading with him, promising they wouldn't hurt him anymore. For whatever reason, Yumayama believed them and came out of hiding. He was captured again, this time the boys They stuffed torn strips of fabric into his mouth and beat him over the head with a rock. His blood could be found on a guard rail several meters away, but he didn't die. Again, the boys poured gasoline on him and set him on fire. Remnants of his burnt clothing would later be found on that same guardrail. The pain was agonizing, and Yumayama escaped again, this time running to the Inonaki tunnel where he finally collapsed and died. The boys stuck around for a while, making sure he was in fact dead this time. The boys drove back to Fukuoka, where they were overheard boasting about their act in a bar. Yumayama's body was discovered the next day. His cause of death was determined to be due to loss of blood. The boys were all arrested, with their leader receiving a life sentence. Today, Yumayama's screams can still be heard in the Inonaki tunnel. Today, Inonaki village sits beneath the water. When the Inonaki tunnel became inconvenient, it was blocked off with stacks of concrete blocks and a new tunnel was constructed. The construction of the Inonaki Dam left the village flooded. It has also become a popular body dump.